It's time for the big one. The episode to end all episodes. The two-part final step in our journey through MLP Season 5. Today, we're going to be talking about the Cutie remark. For real this time. And wow, I don't think I've ever been this conflicted on an episode of MLP. When I first watched this episode, I absolutely loved it and was about to declare it my new favorite episode of the entire show. And then I saw it a second time and I was actually kind of bored with it. So throughout this review, I'm going to be trying to figure out what happened and finally come to a solid conclusion on whether this episode was good or not.
There's a lot of really great things that happened, and a lot of really so things that happened. Personally, I think it's mostly great, but hey, let's just get to the review. Hey, I'm everybody, and welcome to the Cutie remark.
Things may come and things may go. Some go fast and some go slow. Few things last, that's all I know. But friendship carries on the ages. Oh, carries on.
We open with a presentation from Twilight Sparkle about the possible effects of acquiring a cutie mark at the same time as another pony. But before Twilight can finish, she sees Starlight Glimmer.
And the most powerful thing about Cutie Mark magic that I found is the connection.
First time I saw the episode, I did not see Starlight Glimmer there. I was so confused when Twilight was looking all around the crowd like, what's she doing? And when she was walking and she said that Starlight Glimmer was in the crowd, I basically just gave up on trying to make sense with it and went with it.
Yeah, the whole way this scene is directed is just weird. Normally when a show wants you to notice something small in a crowd, they'll zoom in on it or do something to make you notice that one specific thing more than the others. Not here.
Also, as bright as this episode is, they made one huge mistake. You see all those ponies that Twilight is presenting to? They're paying attention! Nobody pays attention during presentations. Come on, have you ever actually stepped out of the rock that you live under?
And it does sound kind of silly.
Or it's totally true.
Wait, how does Spike know what Starlight Glimmer looks like?
He probably just assumed it was her because he's never seen that pony before. And now she's sitting in the castle with a malicious smirk on her face like a villain zoo. That pose is perfect, by the way.
Yeah, we should really stop nitpicking here and get to the point. This shot here is the perfect way to kickstart the two-parter. There's something about the sudden realization that Starlight Glimmer not only means business, but has gone so far as to break into Twilight's home that just really works.
And then the way that she acts in her home afterwards just pushes it to the next level. Using a spell, Starlight Glimmer opens up a huge portal on top of the map, throwing the spell to the side and going in it herself. She smiles practically the entire time that she does this, and it has a really cool vibe. When Spike touches the spell, him and Twilight get sucked into the portal.
As it turns out, Starlight Glimmer has perhaps one of the most ingenious evil plans to ever be featured on this show. We see her stopping Rainbow Dash mid-flight as she's about to perform her Sonic Rainboom, the event that caused all of the main six's cutie marks to be acquired at the same time, pretty much starting the plot of the entire series. Altering time like this in such an earth-shattering way is going to have huge consequences, and the way that this episode plays it is really clever.
Twilight and Spike come out of the portal from the past to arrive back in the present, which is not their present anymore. They appear near the map, although their castle isn't there anymore, and see that the entire map is red and depicting an image that they are not used to. King Sombra has taken over, well, everywhere. And after seeing this image, they decide to go into town to see if they can find some pony to help them. Nobody's in town, not even Pinkie Pie or Rarity, as Sugar Cube Corner and the Carousel Boutique are both abandoned. Twilight and Spike head over to Sweet Apple Acres instead, and find that it is, in fact, completely different.
This whole sequence has some really good suspense. Suddenly being thrown into this depressing, partially abandoned Ponyville with no context really builds tension and curiosity. Even more so once we see that the apple farm has become a giant factory.
They look inside, seeing that the entire barn now just cans apples. Ugh. Applejack comes out, rolling a barrel into a wagon. Twilight immediately runs up to her and hugs her, and Applejack immediately pushes her away. As they talk, Twilight figures out that Applejack doesn't remember who she is, or that they were friends. Twilight also learns that there's a war going on right now against King Sombra, and Twilight manages to drag Applejack out to the map to prove that they are really friends.
This entire sequence is compelling, clever, and well directed. The episode is definitely using the alternate future concept to its advantage, and it really shows. After 5 seasons of nothing but the main 6 being friends, seeing Twilight's home in shambles and her friends clueless as to her existence really feels powerful and intense.
All we have to do now is find Starlight and...
Starlight Glimmer starts giving them a huge lecture about why she's doing this.
My village was a sanctuary of equality.
Yada yada yada.
And you and your friends took it away.
Villainy stuff.
Now it's my turn to take something special from you.
Blah blah blah. But she encases them in crystal, and that's all I care about right now. And I am also very annoyed with said crystal. Because you see inside of the crystal that they are encased in, they could still blink. They could still move their eyes, and Twilight even moved her ears and her entire face at one point. Amateurs, okay? If they were really encased in crystal, they wouldn't be able to move at all.
Twilight confronts Starlight in a pretty silly scene, and it's apparent that she's still spouting her fake "every pony should be equal" nonsense. The silliness continues as Twilight completely fails to convince Rainbow Dash to do a sonic rainboom, and while these scenes are kinda funny, they aren't nearly as captivating as the alternate future we just left behind. Twilight gets flung back into the time portal, and we enter our second alternate future.
So, in the beginning of the second part of the two-parter, Twilight and Spike find themselves inside of the Everview Forest, surrounded by some townsfolk, Fluttershy and Pinkie Pie, who are all like jungle warriors. Sakura is there as well, and uses the salve in order to reveal who they truly are inside or something. Either way, Sakura figures out that they are time travelers by using the salve, and they start walking towards Sakura's camp, where they both talk.
This future is the exact opposite of the one we saw last time. Instead of being heavily industrialized, the ponies have been reduced to tribal huntsmares who need to fend for their lives. It's a nice contrast, and one that I never would have expected. And Sakura gets a pretty cool role too, as the leader of all this. She tells Twilight about how events in the past can affect those in the future, but before they have much time to rest,
The changelings attack! Twilight is forced to flee back to the portal, and they go back to the future. Past! God, whatever it is with Rainbow Dash.
and this time, Twilight wastes no time immediately getting into an actually pretty cool fight scene with Starlight. It's neat to see two evenly sized unicorns duking it out, especially in the clouds, where you can have all sorts of interesting action sequence moments.
The fight distracts Rainbow Dash and the bullies from their race, and this sends Twilight back again to another alternate universe which has Nightmare Moon in it.
Nightmare Moon has some of the best voice acting in the episode.
Now that's something I would like to see.
She sounds so full of herself and so wickedly cruel. At times, she almost sounds insane. This is a personality that sticks in the brain even after the episode is over. But while Nightmare Moon might have the personality going for her, I'm still not too big a fan of this alternate future. From the looks of things, it's actually rather livable compared to the other two. Nightmare Moon's realm seems civilized, which puts it ahead of Queen Chrysalis's jungle, and there isn't any Equestrian World War going on either, so that's a bonus. It seems like she has a pretty loyal band of subjects, and if the castle is popular enough to have tours, then ponies in general are at least okay with her rule. So yeah, the villain that Princess Celestia had to banish to the moon, that Princess Twilight had to blast away with the elements of harmony, and Princess Luna felt nerve-wracking emotional guilt over, is actually not that bad.
Which is why it always bothered me when Twilight said each future is worse than the last, because it wasn't worse!
So after some more fights with Starlight, Twilight decides to show Starlight what the future would look like without the sonic rainboom.
And it's completely barren and dusty. Twilight tries to talk some sense into Starlight Glimmer, saying that her friends are extremely important, and that this reality is a lot like the others that she's seen. But Starlight doesn't buy it and gets into an all-out rage quit, okay? Starlight takes Twilight and Spike back to her hometown in a time when she was a filly.
Admittedly, once Starlight knows about the bad futures and doesn't care, she starts to become just a little more despicable as a villain. But then the episode immediately drops that angle to give Starlight a backstory. And I have mixed feelings about this.
They shouldn't have just dropped Starlight's rage. I would have loved to see her screaming at Twilight and Spike while she barges through the town. But I do think my favorite point in the episode is when she just doesn't care about all of the lives she's ruining with what she's doing. It's so perfectly despicable, I love it.
Now, admittedly, one of the biggest questions that the Cutie map left open is, why is Starlight acting this way? And this episode tries to answer that, and the answer they give is honestly kind of stupid. I've already talked about this ending in this video, but to put it bluntly, this is not a good motivation for a villain. I do not buy for a second that losing one friend is all that it takes to turn a perfectly normal unicorn into the crazy rage goddess that is Starlight Glimmer. We aren't even given any indication that Starlight had a reason to distrust friendship. Perhaps if she was, say, bullied as a filly, it might be understandable why she'd think that every pony just wants to be better than every pony else. And then, losing the one friend she did have would hammer in this point home once and for all. But we don't get any of that. It's just, she lost one friend and now she's a psycho.
I admit that is a little strange. Although she didn't make any more friends after that because she was afraid, and she was a kid, too.
Yeah, she was a kid. So why is this still bothering her as an adult? The episode never explains it. This whole sequence just confuses me.
True. In the next scene, Twilight negotiates with Starlight as she threatens to rip the spell in half in order to keep the timeline incorrect. With a little bit of negotiation, Starlight Glimmer is redeemed! This redemption should not have happened. Starlight Glimmer did not deserve to be redeemed. And what's worse is that it's like an immediate switch. Starlight Glimmer goes from being this complete psycho who doesn't care about the millions of lives of ponies who she's ruining to somebody who has an entire town full of friends and ponies in just one song. And I call this town of friends pity friends, because let's get real here. Who would want to be friends with this psycho? Writers, please! I dub thee pity friends.
Was that dumb little backstory supposed to make me sympathize with Starlight? No way! Not gonna happen. All that backstory did was make Starlight Glimmer look even worse. I can only see Starlight Glimmer as one thing: a woman child. And a particularly dangerous woman child at that. And it completely ruins her status as a villain. I just can't take her seriously anymore, because now I can't look at her without knowing how petty and childish her motives really are. And this ending pretty much ruins Starlight's parts of the episode. Now, whenever I watch it, I just zone out whenever Starlight comes on screen because her scenes just lost all effect the moment I was hit with that ending for the first time. And just when you thought it couldn't get any worse, they edited in the most vile, disgusting thing that you could ever put in an MLP episode. A generic pop song.
I never thought that I would find a place.
Oh, the horror! This song is my least favorite part of the episode. Too many pity friends. Ugh. I mean, Starlight literally goes back to the town where she ruined ponies' lives in, confronts those very ponies, bows her head, and then all of a sudden, okay, yeah, sure, it's fine. You just kept us in your town and took away our cutie marks for who knows how long, but it's cool. It's cool, it's fine. We forgive you. I'm done. I'm dead. I died. I can't believe this.
The song isn't even all that good.
Because your friends are always there for you.
It's pretty typical as far as MLP pop songs go. It's not that energized or fun, it's just kind of there. But Season 5 didn't have a very good soundtrack anyway, so yeah.
Friends can change the world.
And the episode just ends with Starlight smiling with the main six.
This episode was overall pretty good. I love the intertwining time stuff, and I personally kind of like the Starlight Glimmer character, but that redemption in the end really gets to me. I would have to give this a 3 out of 5, just because of the redemption and a couple other things, but it just bothers me way too much.
Now, I want you to imagine something for me. Imagine, if you will, that you're watching the first 3 Star Wars movies, and really getting a kick out of Darth Vader's performance as a villain. But then, right smack in the middle of Return of the Jedi, they suddenly show a scene of Darth Vader dancing around in boxer shorts to a Justin Bieber song. Wouldn't that pretty much ruin Darth Vader for you? Wouldn't it make it so that you couldn't watch any more scenes with him without cringing a little inside at how cheesy and lame he really is? That's what this episode did for me with Starlight Glimmer. I can't watch any of her scenes anymore without rolling my eyes, which is a shame because that really kills the momentum of the episode for me. Every time we cut to Starlight Glimmer, interest lost. Still, it's not all bad. The alternate futures were awesome. Well, maybe not Nightmare Moons, but the other 2 were definitely cool. It was neat to get to see a bunch of old villains come back, and the way that they staged it all really made them look their best. It's just a shame that at the same time they had to make Starlight Glimmer look her absolute worst. I'm giving this episode a 3 out of 5. Like a lot of episodes of Season 5, this was an episode where Friendship is Magic's strengths were shown right alongside its faults. I'm not going to lie, a lot of episodes this season left me conflicted, because they did really good things right alongside decisions that I thought were kind of confused. This was by far the strangest, most conflicting season of MLP for me. And to this day, I have no idea what to think about it. Let's just hope for better in Season 6.
Thank you, one and all for watching. We hope to see you in the next one. Bye-bye!
I never thought that I would find a place to step right in and start again. I never thought that I could just begin right where I left off and make a friend. Don't ever think that it might be too late. You don't have to wait, there's no mistakes with the friends you make. A friendship's only made of what you bring, and if you do it right, you can do anything.